talk to you today about something that's been troubling a couple of people in class recently, in both our beginners class and the advanced class, learning to paint. And some people have been painting for years and they're still having trouble with overworking their painting. So what I'm starting to discover is people are just not focusing on, when we're painting from a photo reference, they're not focusing on the subject that they're painting. So they're not spending I always recommend that you spend 80% of your time looking at your photo reference and only 20% of the time looking at your canvas that you're painting on. So what people are doing, I find people who are having trouble with overworking their painting and not keeping the brush strokes fresh enough, what they're doing is stabbing away at the painting until they kill it. So this is the tip for today, is don't do that. Don't keep stabbing away at your painting, focusing on your painting, making more marks with your brush. This is your modern mind who's taking over, saying, don't worry about looking at the photo reference. I remember what these things look like. I'll tell you where to put your brush on the canvas. And modern mind tricks you into just keeping on stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. And when you find yourself not really feeling like you know what you're doing, you're feeling like you don't understand what process you're in with your painting, and you might be starting to feel frustrated that the more brush strokes you use, it's still not improving. So what you need to do is just stop that modern mind from taking over and telling you how to paint and taking over your hand and just getting you to stab at the painting. You need to put the brush down and get into Zen Mind and use your eyes to see what's really there over in your reference material. Whether you're painting on plein air outdoors, or you're painting from a photo in your studio or in your kitchen or wherever you are painting, make sure that you're focusing all of your eyes and your mental effort on looking and seeing what's really there in that reference. So if you do that, that starts to get you into Zen Mind, into the current moment in time. It's a very mindful thing to do, and you'll start to feel calmer, but you'll also get all the information that you need from that photo reference. So if you're feeling like you don't know what you're doing, you're kind of going around in circles, it's not working, just stop, put the brush down, look at your photo and spend 80% of your time looking at the photo or the scene that you're painting outdoors. 80% of the time your eyes need to be glued onto that, and spend more time looking and thinking than with the brush in your hand. If you do that, I promise you, you will paint your painting in half the time or less. And you'll know what you're doing because you know all the information's there. It's right there in front of you, just as long as you just get your eyes over to look at that thing and do less brush strokes. I'll talk about doing less brush strokes in another Ninja Art tip. But that's what I want to impart to you today is, please don't keep stabbing and stabbing at your painting with a brush until you kill it dead. Step back, take a moment, use your eyes, and very gently apply each stroke of paint to your painting with lots of thought and presence of mind. So there's your tip for the day. Hope you like that one. See how you go practicing that. It's a lot harder than you think to get into that state of mind. You have to kind of almost force yourself to do it until it becomes habit. So thanks for watching. Playing the game of differences, my drawing, the photo. My drawing, the photo. What's different? What's different? That's all drawing is, really. Like,
okay, yep.
Piece of pie. Like, if you like those old games where you just spot the 10 differences in the cartoons.
Yeah.
I used to love those games. That's training your drawing brain. I didn't know it at the time.
That makes sense.
But all we're doing when we're drawing is playing the game of spot the 10 differences. So once you are aware of that and you spot it when it starts happening, you'll go, oh no, it's not a, shut up modern mind, get out the room, I'm going to draw what I see. And what I see is a stick that looks wider and it's got some things on either side, and that's the shape that I see down here. I don't care what it is, I'm not giving it a name, because as soon as you use words, then it kicks in modern mind, which is the language and the words and the symbols, and so you just do the size and so the shapes that you see.
Jackie, would you have to work out where, if it was the top petals, where the shadow would be?
Yeah, so what I would do is, good question. What I would do is I look at this one and I go, I can tell that the source of the light is coming from the right across here, because I can see light hitting the outside here, cast a shadow, light hitting the inside here, cast a shadow. So that tells me that the light source is over to the right. So what I would do is I would say, I'm going to pretend on this flower the light source is on the right, casting the light across. So then you can use the same information here onto these petals, the same information here onto these petals, and then lots of light here and lots more dark on the inside. So if you just choose the same direction for your light source when you're making it up, you've got enough accurate information to transfer across. So if you wanted to, you could have a play with doing this whole scene as a traditional watercolour. One thing that I would suggest is when you're composing this painting here, have a careful think about this barrier line that is cutting off the bottom part of the painting from the top half of the painting. So if this was me painting this as a traditional watercolour, I'd definitely go loosey-goosey in here, like wet in wet for the water, and get a hint of, do a bit of flumping, you know, get some vertical tree trunks, but mostly flumping in there. Of course, you would start off with the sky wash and the water wash for the palest colours and anything on the bridge. But then after you've done that and you've got most of the masses in there, you may want to do some masking on this to make that the feature focal point. But you want to think about stopping this problem in your composition of this barrier here, stopping the viewer from getting into the scene. So if you think of the pathway into the painting, which I talk about a bit in book 2 from the Zen and the Art of Art series, the pathway into the painting, you can think of it like a little person entering the painting from the bottom. That's usually the way that you, because that's the foreground, is the bottom of the painting. You want to walk into the painting as a little person, and you can swim and you can fly and all that stuff, but if you're walking in and you hit this fence, that's something very difficult to climb over to get into the main part of the painting where the focal point is. It's a very strong barrier, isn't it? So if you wanted the focal point to be the little kotoji here, then you would make that the emphasis, and that's easy to do because it's got strong lights right against strong darks all around it. So that's a very definite focal point, and some of the lines are leading you towards that. But to get across to there, you need to soften down the bridge a fair bit. So you could either cast a pile of shadows on either side at least. So, you know, that's dark vignetting, where you bring the shadows in from the corners. So I would definitely darken down here and darken down here. And then that becomes like an upside down L shape, doesn't it, in your painting? If you darken those. And you can also come and weave your way into the painting, then you're not coming up against the fence where you're running back and forth going, how do I get in? I can't get past this big barrier here, if you imagine that. And so I would be darkening down each side of the bridge, pretending that there's more shadows on the footpath here and here. And can you see, by me covering that, that's already a better, more comfortable painting, because I've cut out part of the barrier to get into the painting by darkening those down so they merge a little bit more with what's above and below. Can you see that by me blocking out the white on each of those?
then you come and circle in around here, and that's what you really want the viewer to do. The other option is you pretend that there's a tree in front here or another bush in front here, and you come in from the sides with some greenery. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Shadow might be more truthful about the scene, because every image I've seen of this particular view, there's not actually a tree right there. So that's a choice you can make. But that's the biggest thing. I think the thirds are working okay. That's not a very strong horizontal there. That is a little bit, but you can always cut down the sky a little bit, or you can also crop right in here if you want to. So then you're not, can you see how that's definitely thirdsies now? So you got a third here and a third here where this focal point is. That's not a very strong horizontal there. It's not really too much to worry about. It's very same in tone. But this is definitely a strong spot here. So if you pull in your crop of your composition from here and here, then it's better. But you definitely still need to hide out some of this barrier, the fence line across here.